Right seams. Is it on?
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, friends.
Morning.
When I was looking over my talk this morning, I realized that it's really an invitation. And not just an invitation, it's actually a calling. It's a calling for us to remember who we are. I'd like to start with a brief meditation this morning instead of having it later. So if you would find yourself getting ready for that. Bring your attention to right here. Your physical form resting on your chair. Resting on this floor. Supported by the foundation of this building, anchored into our Mother Earth, who's rotating around our sun at 67,000 miles per hour. Allow your physical body to soften. Notice your breath. Don't need to change anything. See what you're thinking. Stop. Just be here. Being alive right here. Right now. Where you've always been. This effortless aliveness that includes it all. You are awake, aware, breathing, seeing, hearing, thinking, feeling, experiencing exactly how this moment is making itself known. Stop. See what you're thinking. Allow yourself to rest in this boundless awareness. I'm right here. I'm home, where I've always been. Who is this you observing all of this? Could it be that you are the force that moves the galaxies, inhabiting this human form? Gently allow yourself to come back into this moment. So who are you? Who do you mean when you say I? 99% of the people that are asked that question will tell you their name. Their role, their occupation, where they live, whatever it is that they identify as I, as me. And you'll notice that where we live is on channel me most of the time. Me, that central character in our movie, this movie we have going on, of waking life. Obsessed with the survival of me. Gotta find the truth, gotta get it right, gotta stay in control. Always needing approval, looking for love and acceptance and belonging, security. Sound familiar? These small separate selves create their own story, and we believe that story is us. I'm writing a book where I tell the story of my life, so I'm not going to bore you with it all here. I'm just going to give you a few cliff notes as we start. So, I was born a victim of circumstances into a most dysfunctional family, poor, uneducated, wounded, violence, guns. My brother-in-law killed my sister. I sustained a sexual wounding at the age of 5. And out of that, my resistance to who my mother told me I was formed the trajectory of my whole life until I was 50 years old, when I had a stroke and forgot it all. So the focus of my life was the Baptist church. The preacher said we were all sinners, that we were doomed, that we needed to be saved, that God was wrathful, fire and brimstone to be expected. But my God was different. I would go down in our little pasture and lay in the tall grasses in the summertime, always trying to hide from my mother. And I would lay there, and I would merge with nature and listen to the crickets and the birds and the frogs and the pigs and the cows and the mules and the chickens, and look at the clouds, and God would talk to me. And it was a God of love, kindness, care. I was embraced. I was safe, even around guns. When I was 7 years old, my holy-roly Baptist uncle proclaimed that I was a child healer. I had no idea what that meant. I was 7. But seemingly, when he had me lay my hands on folks, they threw away their crutches and walked around. I was ashamed and embarrassed. I had no idea what was going on. I had contact with the UFO when I was 15. I met Bill Marshall, who I married. He was the most unusual human being I had ever met. We went into the Peace Corps. There was that story about the big snake that most of you have heard. If you haven't, it's another sermon. I walked on fire, I skydived, I was immersed in a Makushi Indian culture. Back in Washington, D.C., I did a lot of psychedelics. Protested the Vietnam War. There was grad school, the kids were born. My husband and I moved to Puerto Rico. He was directing a laboratory there, not paying much attention to me or the kids. I found a young boyfriend who was only 17 and ran away with him. Brought the kids back to Washington, D.C., worked to put him through engineering school and the kids into Montessori. In 1978, when I was 33 years old, I participated in something called the EST training, Werner Erhard. It was a huge turning point in my life. I left that training knowing that I had created my story and that 99% of it was interpretation. 1% of it was fact. And this interpretation, over the years as I told the story, I had exaggerated it and embellished it and lied about it so many times I had no idea what the 1% fact really was. I also left that training knowing that I could remake my story, the 99% of it. That I could create, that story had been made by a child, starting at 5 years old. And I had been living by it until now when I was 33, believing it, totally believing it, and I was a good storyteller, so it got better all the time. Shortly after the S training, I started to become a student of A Course in Miracles. That was another big, wide, deep awakening. The Course taught that we never separated from God. That God did not, in fact, create this three-dimensional illusion. Well, I knew a little bit about Eastern religions, the Hindus, and all those guys had been telling us that this world was an illusion for eons. So I started to surrender who I thought I was into the service of whatever that was. Known by many names. If God doesn't suit you, you can use love or spirit or whatever works for you. It doesn't care. I started to get up in the morning and look in the mirror at myself and go and say things like, I'm going to pretend to be God today. See how that turns out. I know how to pretend. So this becoming that, it's not a one and done, it's a practice. Perhaps every morning when you look in the mirror, you get up really close so you can see that little beam of light in your eye and you can say, today I'm going to be in service. It's St. Francis's prayer, Lord, make me an instrument. A lot of papers here, and I'm supposed to find the insert now. Okay, here it is. In 1981, I was living in Tucson with this young boyfriend. We actually were together for 6 years, which turned out to be the most formative years of my children's life, and it was a total 6 years of partying, sex, drugs, rock and roll. Around that time, I received an invitation from the Breakthrough Foundation in San Francisco. It was one of the entities in the Werner Erhard network. Werner Erhard is the fellow who had started the S training. And this invitation came because after I did the training in '78, I became very active volunteering in that organization. I was leading guest seminars, and my stats were really high. I'm really good at enrollment. And so this news had traveled, and the people that ran the Breakthrough Foundation wanted me to come and be on staff there. Well, I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. So I pretty much abandoned my kids, worked at the Breakthrough Foundation for 18 hours sometimes a day, figured I was saving the world. Amy cooked dinner every night for Khaki, because I was gone, saving the world. One good thing that happened from my time at Breakthrough was that I met Lynn Twist. And Lynn Twist is a woman that I'm still involved with to this day. At that time, she was on staff at the Hunger Project, which was also one of the entities in this network that had been started by Werner and John Denver. When Lynn left the Hunger Project, she went on to create something called the Pachamama Alliance, which is an alliance that is taking care of the indigenous lands in South America, saving the Amazonian rainforest. In 2011, I was trained by Lynn to lead those workshops that they were doing. The first one being the Awakening the Dreamer, Changing the Dream Symposium. That was the beginning of my being awake to global warming. That was 2011. I've stayed involved with that work until now. My interest in global warming and trying to mitigate it and reverse it has evolved into my work with collapse acceptance, which some of you know about. Now I'm supposed to go back to the page. So in 1988, Khaki sailed down to New Zealand. And I went down there to just hang out on the boat for a month or so and enjoy myself and come back home. But that didn't happen. Khaki wanted me to go hitchhiking with her on her 16th birthday all around the island. Well, we made it as far as Auckland and saw this schedule at the ferry that there was a little island out there, 45 minutes by ferry, called Waiheke Island. And we went out there. Turned out they were having some kind of a healing retreat. There were people there from all over the world. I felt called to attend. So I went into this place, this beautiful 13-sided building, sitting out on this point of land over the ocean like an eagle's nest. And there were all these people gathered in there from all over the world. There were even those psychic surgeons, you know, the ones that reach in and pull out the guts and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and there's this Filipino woman sitting on my left, and at one time that we were asked to hold hands, she takes my left hand and starts proclaiming that I'm a healer. Well, I tried to get over this since I was 7, and I was like, no. They made me get up, go to whoever was on this massage table, and do it. And I did, and people said they were healed. Well, I stayed there a year. I ran an ad in the local paper, said, you know, California healer in town for a short period of time. The people came, and they had results. I was like, oh shit, you know, I got to go back to Marin County. No, I don't have any credentials. You know, what am I? So I came back and went to massage school. I ended up getting initiated as a Reiki master and started a practice called body-centered spiritual healing, which I did for a decade. I did an apprenticeship on the teachings of St. Francis. I studied with both Cherokee and Peruvian shaman. In 1995, I had a stroke and I had several near-death experiences, which began my interest in death and dying. I started to practice Vipassana, meditation, study Buddhism. Amy married an Oregon boy and moved to Oregon and had a baby. I had to move up here too. So that's what brought me here. I attended the Living Enrichment Center, that big mega church out in Wilsonville, until it folded. And then some of the people in this room, along with myself, started a New Thought Fellowship here in McMinnville. I got ordained as a New Thought interfaith minister. I studied cosmology and quantum mechanics and a deeper dive into consciousness that was. I studied evolutionary biology, deep time, 15 billion years of evolution, understanding that these very atoms and molecules of these bodies came from the explosion of stars. Seeing ourselves as stardust allows us to start to understand who we really are and our relationship to the whole. That we are not separate from nature or God or each other, but we're expressions of this oneness. So, I've been getting over my story for 47 years. Clearly, my greatest achievement is my 2 daughters. To have raised a daughter who our president would appoint to be the U.S. Oregon Attorney, to have raised a daughter who would direct the homeless shelter program for the city and county of San Francisco, besides the other work she does with the Black trans community. None of this has anything to do with me being a good parent. I was not. So currently, in these unprecedented, most challenging times of polycrisis, global warming, environmental degradation, say it for me, authoritarianism, inequality, racism, it is our responsibility to wake up to our true selves, to embody our divinity, and to do what is ours to do. Making this chaotic time alive with possibility. The State of the World Forum is coming up in December in Washington, D.C., and the theme this year is the revolution of the merging of 4 intelligences. The intelligence of humans, of nature, of the cosmos, and of AI. This revolution has already begun. There are hundreds of thousands of people working on the how to bring all of these intelligences to bear on creating the more beautiful world that we know in our hearts is possible. Woo. Our species may be in a kind of rite of passage. I'm going to the last page now. We are beginning to see that no amount of outer development will heal this world. Only inner development can save us. Embodying the divine, living in joy and love in the midst of it all, for us to be the calm in the storm. Right here in this beloved community, we have created a safe and loving, sacred space where we can encourage one another in this precise responsibility of embodying our divinity and discovering what is ours to do. Our souls are calling us. May it be so.
So, oh.